key. I know it's been a super long time and I haven't made a long video in a super long time, but today I wanted to go over the total YieldMax ETF, which encompasses all of the YieldMax funds such as FBY, Coney, and TSLY, and a couple others. Basically, all the underlying security ETFs that they do have, all encompassed in one fund. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into it. So, you're probably going to ask, what is YieldMax? So, YieldMax is obviously a company that creates these option ETFs for their investors. And what it allows them to do is essentially profit from options on these underlying stocks by the written calls and puts that they make, usually which are covered, and we are able to basically participate in the earnings from these options. Now, what YMAX does is it encompasses and buys all of these different funds and puts them all in one basket. So what that allows us to do is we don't have to personally go out and purchase all of these on our own. We can simply just buy this one fund and we are all able to participate in all of the funds simultaneously. So this is actually somewhat beneficial, I'd say, if you're someone that, doesn't want to go and buy all the different ones and keep track of them, and you want to have access to all of the funds, but you don't want to purchase them all separately. I would say it's a pretty useful tool. For me, I like to do a bit of both. I like to buy this, and I also like to buy specific ones to get a little bit more exposure to the ones that I am more interested in. For example, TSLY, which I think will make a long recovery, which I'll make another video about. But that is essentially what YMAX is. Now, obviously, this is a note that put in. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, but what they say is that principal loss is possible. Shareholders of the funds are not entitled to any dividends paid out by any of the underlying stocks in the funds that are in YieldMax. So, important note is they're basically trying to limit their liability, which almost all financial companies do when they create these ETFs. So, it's not something to be super alarmed by, but I think it's something to always take heed of and take note of. So, I always put it in. But here are the fund holdings, which I kind of want to get into. So, as I mentioned earlier, all of them are, part of the funds that they include in their entire tree of different funds that they have. The AI one is C3AI. They have AMD, Amazon, Apple, Coney, which is the Coinbase ETF, DIS, which is Disney, and they call it DISO. It allows you to get income from Disney, of course. Meta, which is Facebook. Now, the FGXX is something I believe that they have on hand so they can basically keep cash for their investors and be able to get a yield on the cash to pay back to the investors. And it's some place that they put in cash because a lot of companies have to keep a certain amount of cash on hand. Then they have Google, JP Morgan, Moderna, Microsoft, MicroStrategy, Netflix, Nvidia. They have OARC, which is Kathy Wood's fund, I guess you could say. But they also have PayPal, Square, Tesla, and XOM, which is ExxonMobil. So all these companies, together, they encompass them all in this fund, which I think is a neat tool for someone that's kind of a set it and forget it kind of investor who doesn't want to be looking at this kind of stuff every single day. So if you are one of those kind of people and you don't want to own all of these yourself, or, it might be too expensive to own all of them separately, then it makes a lot of sense for you to just buy the YMAX fund and then roll with it. So now I'm going to talk about the current dividend yield based on the last declared dividend. Now, the reason I do this is because a lot of the times they do an average of all of the recent ones and give you the yield this way. I find that sometimes the yields go down over time and sometimes they go up over time. So to make it, more up to date and see if it's still an investment that's worth it based on the last declared dividend, it allows me to kind of understand and be able to see, like, okay, is this a good investment at the time being? Like, let's say, for example, they paid $1 in distribution and the next time they pay 50 cents. All right, well, let's take that 50 cents, multiply it by 12, and let's see if that's still a decent yield or if I should go for a different fund. And I think this is a really good way to be able to understand if the fund is worth investing in or not. But based on what I was able to do with the last distribution, which was paid on the 17th of May, so not too long ago, about 4 days ago, we can see that it was essentially a 43% average yield based on the 73-cent distribution. If we multiply that by 12, we get 8.78 and put that over the share price. So in a year, we're at about 43%. But let's take a look at the stock price now. So as you can see, it doesn't move a lot, which is either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the type of investor you are. But it's important to note that, this YieldMax encompassing fund yields 43%, right? So if you are, looking at this 2.3% and saying, oh, that's not a lot, it's important to note that you're getting 40% a year in dividends. Now, the kind of strategy I would employ with these kind of funds is I would reinvest half and then take out half for what I need to do, or reinvest 60 and take out 40%, all after tax, of course. So be sure to know how much you're going to pay in taxes based on the estimations of what you're going to get paid. But it's important to note that 2% up over time, it's not going down. So that's a good thing to look at. But with these funds, it's always important to get a good entry in them, because you don't want to be buying at the top like a lot of TSLY investors ended up holding the bag on, and they're still holding them. So it's kind of the sad part. But with this, we can see that it's not doing that. So something nice to see. So what I think about it right now, I think it's a buy opportunity, and the reason is because some of the funds that are in that basket are kind of undervalued right now because the underlying companies are undervalued. So it's not a bad deal per se, because you're at about 3.58% yield per month from its inception in January, and YieldMax offers you the diversification across all of their options funds by buying this YMAX ETF. So I think it's a good bet. But what I would say is always to keep your eye out to see if it ever draws down. Sometimes when you get your dividend payment, you could reinvest half and get in and DCA down, which is dollar cost average, and it'll help you bring down your average price over time. But that is all for today. Like I said, again, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos, but I'll have a lot more videos on the way. I just haven't been, having the time, but I appreciate you guys that are still around and still watching. So without any further ado, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.